Okay, today we're going to begin a new siman in Rosh Hashana towards the end. It's a short siman. Try to get it done. Siman Tuf Reish. Tuf Reish basically deals with two topics. Number one is the important question, which will also be dealt with in the next siman, which is why is Rosh Hashanah 2 days in Israel? It's always 2 days. Usually only outside of Israel we have a yontif that is 2 days. What exactly is the difference between Rosh Hashanah and other holidays? I think that the question is actually better than the answer, but we'll learn about that. Number two, Shehechinu and Rosh Hashanah. What's the story over there? So those are going to be the two main topics, and we're going to see the different halachic ramifications that it will have. The Shulchan Aruch begins. We're first going to start. We'll just go through all the Mishna brews. The title of the simon is Beitzer Shenolda B'Rosh Hashanah V'Dinei Kiddush Shabo Gimel Sifim. Let's say an egg is born on Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so the question is that going to be permissible or not? So usually, if something is born on Yom Tov, we know from the beginning of Maseches Beitzer, it's a problem for various reasons. The question is, let's say that the egg was from the first day, could you use it the second day? Okay, it was hatched, born, or not? Also, Kiddush, like we said, about Gimel Sifim, there's three Sifim. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Beitzer Shenolda B'Yom Tov Rishon. Let's see, you have an egg that was born on the first day of Yom Tov. V'chein ma shenitzod bo. Similarly, if something was nitzod, nitzod means that if something was trapped. So if something was trapped, so now the explanation is that going to be permissible? Now, in particular, now I'm jumping all over the place over here. In particular, we're talking about v'chein ma shenitlash. We'll explain this in a moment. Shulchan Aruch says v'chein ma shenitlash bo, something that was detached. What exactly is this referring to over here? This is referring to typically it's going to be a problem of muksa because they weren't fitting yesterday and now they're okay. So the question is, if any of this happened on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, is it permissible on the second day? AKA these three cases. Number one, if the egg was born. Number two, if something was trapped. And number three, if something was detached from a tree or the like, something that was growing. So the Shulchan Aruch says Asr b'sheni, it's prohibited on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. So this is how Rosh Hashanah is unique. Mishnah Berurah over here specifies Asr b'sheni, afagav, even though talking about on the bottom over here. Afagav de b'shar yom tov muter b'sheni mekoyach, even though that on other yomim tovim it would be permissible because of the strength of. Now we go to the top right. Miman of shach, which means it would be permissible because of either way. What does that mean? It would be permissible either way. Im yom rishon hu kodesh. Hasheni hucho. If the first day of Rosh Hashanah is holy, the second day is weekday. Oh, if the second day is weekday, not a Yom Tov, so then it will in fact be permissible. V'im hasheni kodesh harishon hayachol. And if the second day of Rosh Hashanah is holy, the first day was weekday, and then it was hatched or it was done on the first day, so it's okay. So therefore, seemingly it should be okay on the second day. If whatever happened on the first day. No, hachas over here is prohibited. Why? The travayu chada kedusha sahi, because it's both one holiness. So over here we already see this concept, which isn't elaborated on in the Mishnah Berurah itself. But over here, the Mishnah Berurah in these four words is touching upon something incredibly palpable, relevant. The idea of Rosh Hashanah is one, even though it's 2 days, it's Chada Kedusha Sehi, it's one day of holiness. So we have to figure out exactly why, which we will. So that's Sif Aleph, and then the Sif concludes over here by the Ramah saying Ukfar, and I already Nizbar Lel Simin Tav Kuf Yudal Sifei B'Simin Tav Kuf Tezvav. I already explained more over there, says the Ramah. That's Sif Aleph. Let's go to Sif Beis. Sif Beis, the Shulchan Aruch says Bekiddush Lel Sheni. Let's talk about Kiddush on the second night of Rosh Hashanah. Yilbush Beged Chadash, says the Ramah. Wear a new garment. Why? Other Yomim Tovim, as we know, we say Shehechinu no matter what, unless it's Shvi Shel Pesach. We always say Shehechinu even on the second day. First day of Pesach, second day of Pesach. You say Shehechinu. Sukkah, same thing, Shehechinu, because Sveika Diyoma, which we'll go into more. What exactly Sveika Diyoma entails, what that means, background information. But over here, since as we said before, that for some reason, which we didn't clarify yet, Rosh Hashanah is one entity of holiness, even though it's 2 days. So now we have a doubt if we need to make another Shehechinu because we made it on the first day, and if we say it's a continuation, maybe you don't. So says the Rama, wear a new garment, wear a new expensive garment that you need to say Shehechinu, and that Shehechinu will cover the potential Shehechinu you need to make on the second day.
What about just a different fruit or something?
Oh, that's the continuation. Look inside. Or you have a new fruit, and then you say Shehechinu. In other words, you do something that would require a Shehechinu of itself to get out of this whole doubt.
Yeah.
So let's say you don't have that though. Oh, that's next line. Let's say you don't even have any garment or fruit. Guess what? You would still say Shehechinu. This is a fascinating exception because usually we say Sabah Safek Brach Lahakal. If you have a doubt in a bracha, you should go lenient and not do it. Over here we say you should, so we really see that the Shehechinu really has to be done. Take a look at the Mishna over here. So we said in the Shulchan Aruch that this is talking about Kiddush. Kiddush on the second night. That's when this Shaila comes up. Okay? So comes along the Mishnah Berurah. This is in order to get out of the argument over here. Mishum Sheisharmin, because some say Shehechinu. Some say that we do not say Shehechinu on the second night of Rosh Hashanah. Why? As we said before, the Travayu Yoimi Kedusha Achasi because they are both one day of holiness. Both days of Rosh Hashanah are one day of holiness. And we already said the Shehechinu on the first night. So therefore, maybe you wouldn't say Shehechinu. So that's why we do this tactic in order to get out of this potential question that results. Beged Chodesh. We wear a new garment after the siman. Rachel of Dalit, Ziv Dalit, even though we learned over there, Pasuk to B'Shasa, Kinyan Yishul Avarch. When you buy the garment, that's when you should say the bracha of Shehechinu. So how could you wait to say the Shehechinu by the Sudan Rosh Hashana? Hasa Mayri Kishakana Malbush Muchon. As a Simcha Kishakana. Over there is referring to when you purchased the garment and it was prepared. So now there's going to be a happiness when you acquire it. Over here is referring to that you purchased the garment and you gave it to the tailor to fix. It wasn't the proper size. As a simcha kishemishtamish bo. So then the happiness will be when you actually use it, and that's when you would say the Shehechinu. And that's how you could do it at the Suda. Pri Chodesh b'medinos she'ein anavim mitzuyim mavim b'makom esachirim ve'al pi haroiv heim boitzer. In countries and locations where the grapes are not found, frequently found, and they bring them from other places, and most of the time they are unripe. Ein likach oisem, do not take them. Sheyesh behem safek bracha, because there's a doubt on the bracha. What is the bracha? Are they brei pri hagafen or not? Are they brei pri adama or brei pri? What's the story?
The grapes?
We don't know if it came literally to the whitening of the bean stage. To which case maybe it would be a brei pri adama. Also they're sour. Not good to eat sour items, food on Rosh Hashana. Furthermore, if it isn't completely ripe, that is not a good sign. But Ma'aseh it's recorded about the Vilna Gaon. Because of the Ein Le'echol Anavim Rosh Hashanah, he says not to eat grapes, v'hatam al pisod. The reason is for Kabbalistic reasons. It says in parentheses over here. Others say that he didn't have them because they weren't commonly found in Vilna. If you have new wine, don't make kiddush on that. Make kiddush on old wine. Do mitzvah and a muvchar, because it's preferable to make a kiddush on old wine, which is halachically better. And once you reach Shehechinu, so then you should take the wine in your hand, or you should look at it. O kasvu dehu adin isha bebirchos hadlaka b'yom sheni. They also say that the same applies to a woman regarding the bracha of Ner Shabbos on the second day. Tilbush begir chadash o taniach pri chadash. She should either wear a new clothing or she should have a new fruit by her. As tu chalavar Shehechinu, and then she could say the bracha of Shehechinu. You
What
still
do we
say
think?
Shehechinu though, even if you didn't have clothing or if you didn't have a fruit. The after kedusha achasi, even though it's one holiness, meaning both days are really one in terms of the holiness. Mikol makom shnei yamim heim. But at the end of the day, there are two separate days, and therefore one would still say Shehechinu. And a lot of people mess up with this. Yesh toim likach af b'shar yamim tovim pri chodesh v'taosu. Some people make a mistake to take on the other yamim tovim a new fruit, so that that will help cover the Shehechinu. That's a mistake. That is unnecessary. The last sif of this short siman is sif gimel. And the Shulchan Aruch says, Im chal yom rishon b'Shabbos. If the first day falls out on Shabbos, if the first day of Rosh Hashana falls out on Shabbos, Oimrim Shehechinu b'shofer b'yom sheni. So we say Shehechinu on the shofar on the second day. Why do we think not? It's the first time we're doing the mitzvah after all. Why would we not say Shehechinu? So the Mishnah Berurah over here answers that question. He says like this, Rosh Hashana, meaning to say, Sha'az ein toikin. When the first day of Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos, as we know, we don't blow shofar. So now comes out that you could say Shehechinu on the second day according to everyone. The Halal Amr's Ma'ana mitzvahs over who case milsa chadasa. Because you didn't say Shehechinu on this mitzvah shofar, and it's a new mitzvah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, but comes the Rama. Yesh Harmim la'amro afilu im chal yom rishon b'chol v'chein minhag b'medin selu. Some say Shehechinu on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, even if the first day doesn't fall out on Shabbos, it falls out during the week, and that is the custom in our country. Says the Rama in Ashkenaz places. So it comes out like this. According to Sfardim, according to the Shulchan Aruch, someone who said Shehechinu on the first day of Rosh Hashanah because it fell out during the week would not say one on the second day. But according to Ashkenazim, we would in fact say Shehechinu on the second day. Mishnah Berurah specifies Hainu afilu b'loy beged chadash upri chadash. Even if a person doesn't have a garment, doesn't have a new clothing, and a new fruit, still you would say Shehechinu on the second day, even if you said it on the first for shofar. Mishum taha hayoim in yoitzim b'tekiyah shasmal. Because the second day of Rosh Hashanah, we're not going to fulfill our obligation of shofar from the previous day. In other words, the different days. Fulfilled our obligation on the first day. Now, second day, we have more work to do. We do not say that it's one long day. No, we need to show for the second day, and we need to say New Shehechinu. Also, we have to say the brachas on shofar on the second day as well. When we come makom lechatchilo, nevertheless, preferably tov sheyilbash at the keya begir chodesh b'shofar. It's good that the person blowing shofar should wear a new garment. This way that it's as if he's saying a Shehechinu anyway is on the garment, and then it will cover the Shehechinu on shofar, which is questionable. Look at the Beis Yosef, who says that in his place they did not have the custom to say Shehechinu, the shofar, on the second day. So this is the Rabbi Yosef Kairo Lishitasol. Exactly like what he says in Shulchan Aruch, he writes in Beis Yosef that they wouldn't say Shehechinu on the second day. Achin anu hagin karama, but says the Mishnah Berurah, we have the custom like the Rama to say Shehechinu both days, regardless. This part of the Mishnah berura is coming from a very lengthy Taz on the siman. And this is all in the Taz's case. Kahal sheshalchu li'ir acheres, lahavi lem shoifer. Let's say there's a congregation that they sent to another city a messenger to go retrieve a shofar. They didn't have a shofar. So they sent to another city to go get a shofar. They didn't have one. So now what happened? This messenger, he was delayed until the end of the second day. In other words, they couldn't get it. Okay? They couldn't get the shofar. They tried and they only got it at the end of the day. Rosh Hashana hayi b'yom chamishi. Now Rosh Hashana was on Thursday. Ubiyom shishi and Friday. So they finally got the shofar at the end of the second day. Makes sense. The city needed their shofar. They limited shofars over there. They finally got it at the end of Rosh Hashana. One problem. The guy comes, so he's holding the shofar in his hand. He's we're ready to makayim the chashav of mitzvah. Now we can fulfill the mitzvah of shofar. Great. But guess what? They all daven Ma'ariv for Shabbos. That's okay, because it was still day. In other words, they made early Shabbos. So it was early in the day. So the question is like this. Could shofar be blown in a community that already accepted Shabbos on themselves? If it's not sunset yet. So the Taz is a lot of back and forth about this. Shabir quotes it in short. If there's no expert to blow the shofar that didn't accept Shabbos upon himself already, as Yizka Mishikibo Shabbos Bal Bracha. So then someone could blow a shofar. He didn't accept Shabbos. Someone who, even if he accepted Shabbos, if there's someone who didn't accept Shabbos yet and he's an expert, he could blow shofar. Sure, he should blow the shofar. The question is, if everyone accepted Shabbos, even someone who accepted Shabbos could blow shofar, but without a bracha. Will yizkarak tashrat, tashat, tarat v'lo yoser. But he should only say a tekiah shvarim trua tekiah shvarim trua, tekiah terua, and tekiah v'lo yoser, not more. Fascinating halacha over here. This is talking about if it's day, if it's before sunset, before shkia. But if it's already the time of beina shmashos, so then he should not blow shofar at all. If it's beina shmashos, if it's after sunset, if it's after shkia. Because on the second day, the obligation to blow shofar is only midrabanan, is only from the rabbis, rabbinic in nature, and therefore a doubt on something rabbinic, we should be lenient. But on the first day, that is, it's an obligation from the Torah, then a person would be obligated to blow shofar but without a bracha. And regarding telling someone who isn't Jewish to bring the shofar from another place, even after sunset on the first day will be permissible. Comes out this difference between if it's the first day of Rosh Hashana or the second day. This is all the Mishnah beruras of this siman over here. Okay. Tirosh Chadash means wine that 40 days didn't pass. A person shouldn't make a brach. Person shouldn't use that. Person shouldn't use that for kiddush. So we saw before in the Mishnah berura over there to specify that. What is this case of the Amir La'akum at the end? Oh, whoops. Wrong siman over here. Sorry. Gotta go back to our siman. What's exactly that case of the Amir La'akum? So the wrong siman I switched before. The exact case is like this. You ask him to bring a shofar, the person who's in Jewish, from outside of the Tchum, the border of the city over there. So the idea is that Tchumen is midrabanan, and also Amir La'akum is midrabanan. Two durabanans we could be lenient for a mitzvah. Let's try to have a better understanding exactly of where this comes from. Why Rosh Hashana is 2 days, even in Eretz Yisrael. The Torah opens up this siman by saying if an egg is born on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, like we saw in Shulchan Aruch, or something else was detached from a tree, a fruit was detached from a tree, can't eat that if it happened on Shabbos and Yontif. But if it happened on the first day of Yontif, then you could eat it on the second day of Yontif over here in outside of Israel, if it's not Rosh Hashanah. But on Rosh Hashanah, even that would be a problem. Why, says the Torah, the Travayu Chashivi Kechada Kedushas. Because they're both, it's one holiness. Days of Rosh Hashanah over here. Take a look at this Beis Yosef. This is going to be fundamental. I just want to pull something up over here first before we even see this Beis Yosef. We're going to see, not in this siman, but in the next siman. Okay, just going to pull it up right now. In the next siman, in siman Tafresh Aleph, we're going to do next time, it's going to say, Av be'eretz Yisrael oisim b'Rosh Hashanah shnei yamim. Even in Israel, Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. Hashanah is 2 days. So like we started this session 25 minutes ago, question is, why? Why is Rosh Hashanah 2 days in Israel? Unlike every other holiday. Like I said, the question's really better than the answer, but it's a Shulchan Aruch that says that Rosh Hashanah is 2 days even in Israel. Let's try to learn this Beis Yosef properly and see if we could get more clarity in this topic. The Gemara in the beginning of Maseches Beitz and Davdala teaches us, so we have over here the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Rav and Shmuel, they both say, Noldu v'zoy, asura v'zeh. That if an egg is born on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, it's prohibited on the second day as well. Titnan, because the Mishna teaches us at the end of Maseches Rosh Hashanah and Daf Lamed, B'rishoino hayu mekablen edus achodesh kol hayom. Originally, what did they do? Originally, they would accept the testimony for the new moon the entire day. In other words, once upon a time, there wasn't what's called a fixed calendar. And how would we know when all of the holidays would be? Well, very simple. It depends on when the moon was. Depends on when the month would start. That would affect when the holidays would be. Now, Mishna earlier in the Masechta Rosh Hashana goes on to discuss how they would let everyone else know who wasn't living in Israel. They either had a torch method, which eventually people tried to mess up with the torches to mess us up. As usual, people are always trying to mess us up. Or they had someone go out on a horse and he would tell everyone. Right? Okay. So, question is like this. So they would accept this testimony the entire day. This is, by the way, one of the reasons the Yavanim on Hanukkah. What did the Greeks try to do away with? They went after the classics, right? Mila, Shabbos, and one of them is what? Rish Chodesh. They were trying to go after. What's the shaychus, right? We know lashkichim toratecha, lavim rechukim retecha. They didn't want us to perform chukim, learn Torah. Fine, that's understandable. Who cares about Rosh Chodesh? Going after Chodesh? Who cares? So one explanation is once you get away, once you do away, you remove Rosh Chodesh, that hampers our, that prevents us from setting a holiday. Any Yom Tov, it messes up with every single Yom Tov. Something to think about. So originally that's what they did. Kol Hayom. And they would wait the entire day for the testimony, for witnesses to say, we saw the new moon, this is when the month is. Hamachas, one time, Nishta Ha'edim Lavo. The witnesses, they delayed from coming. They delayed from coming back. And then what happened? Nishta Ha'edim Lavo v'niskalkulu ha'avim b'shir. The Levim, they messed up with their song in the base of Mikdash. As we know, we say the Shir Shal Yom. Like my grandfather proudly used to say, Hayoim Yom, blah, blah, blah. Shalaviyim, Hayoim Beis Hamikdash. Emphasis on Leviyim. Right? So it would have the Shir. So then you know what they established? They enacted Hiskinu Shalo Yehiyu Mekablim Esa'edim Elad Mincha. They said we are only going to accept testimony until Mincha time. Once it's close to Shkia, that's it. Forget about it. The question is which Mincha is it talking about? Maybe it's even Mincha Gedola. Okay. No, Hagin Oiso Hayoim Kodesh Lamacher Kodesh. If they came after the time of Mincha, they said, you know what, today and tomorrow will be holy. Rashi Asura Bezel Shehem Vadai Choy Kavua Liois Kiyoim Aruch Midrabanan. Says Rashi, this isn't Sveika Diyoma, this isn't a doubt on the day. Rather, says Rashi, a harsh language. This was a set, fixed, lengthy day. Midrabanan, this is what the rabbi said. That it wasn't originally done because of a doubt. In other words, we see something very unique about Rosh Hashanah, unlike every other Yom Tov. Every other Yom Tov, that's why we have the difference between if someone who is living in Israel versus someone who's living outside of Israel. In Israel, one day, one and done. Outside, we always have 2 days. But says the Gemara, says Rashi, Beis Yosef over here, that Rosh Hashanah, it wasn't because of a doubt of the day that maybe the calendar would get messed up again. No. This was a set enactment that they made. The question is why exactly was Rosh Hashanah different than every other holiday? Maybe beginning of the year. That's there's more to handle there. Kol Hayoim, Shloishim Shel Elul. As we know, Rosh Hashanah starts in the beginning of the year, the 1st of Tishrei. But they said also the 30th of Elul, it's going to be a holy day. It's going to be Rosh Hashanah. Hayu Asurim b'malacha. Can't even work. Even then, on the 30th of Elul, Shema Yiskadesh HaChodesh L'machar. Maybe the next day will be holy. V'nimsa Shalai Lazeh. Comes out that this night is Yom Tov. It's actually a holiday. B'chein. Just going to zoom in so that we could see it better. B'chein, and similarly, Kol Hayoim Mitzapim La'edis. The entire day they would anticipate when this testimony would come. Roy Yelavana, those who would see the moon. Ula Yavo, maybe it would come B'kol Shah Shebayim. Whenever they would come, Ad Shetichshach, until dark, Hayom Makablin Edus, and they would accept the testimony. Umatishin Achodesh Bobayom, and they would make the month holy that day. And it's Kalkul Lavim Bashir, the Lavim, they messed up. Tamid Shalbein Arbaim, they messed up with the Korban Tamid that they bring in the afternoon. That's what we daven mincha instead of Sha'amru Bo Shira Shel Chol. Oh, they said the weekday Shira. Shahayu Savurim Shalo Yavo Od. They said they're not coming anymore. The witnesses. Vayoim Chol. And it's weekday. Kishabo Nimsa Shu Chodesh. Oh, but then they came and then it was already holy. Ada mincha. At Korban Tamid shall be in Arbaim till the Korban in the afternoon. Avala Acher Mikan. Oisa Yoim Harihu Meuver. But after then, that day was already Umoinim Yonim Acheres, the Yom Kippurim. You already start counting the next day. For Sukkot, it affects the whole calendar. If they came after Mincha, Afal Pi Shein Moinim, the Mo'ados Mehayoim, even though that you don't count from today, Loy Mezalzelin Bahai Shleishim. They wouldn't belittle that 30th day of Elul. Elagoimim Oiso Isuru. They would finish it in a prohibited way. Kasher huzru at mincha milamacha, just like they were careful with not to abstain from working. Kain no hagin v'goyim oiso v'kedushos, they would finish it in its holiness. Alma, what do we see? Tchilas asiyah shnei yamim toy shnei yamim lo Rosh Hashana bebezdin haya. We see from over here that these 2 days of Rosh Hashanah was made by Bezdin. The loim is
Mm.
suffix. It was made as something that was set. It wasn't made as a doubt. Shahari vadai sheyom tov lamacha rafal pikin tiknu la'asoitzon shma mina choy chachamim b'tvasan hu. Hayu la'asoitzon. Kabo edim achar mincha v'rechoikim yeshalem la'asoitzon. B'chol shana shema yavoyu edim achar mincha. B'hari kedushosam achas. We see from over here that this was not made as a doubt. There is one holiness over here. Both days of Rosh Hashanah, they have a holiness to it. The inkan loimer mimanav shachad minai chol. Don't say that one of the days of Rosh Hashanah, the first day, the second day, is weekday. It's not. The shema inkan chol el shneim kodesh. Maybe they're both holy. The point is that Rosh Hashanah is unlike the other holidays. That it's 2 days of holiness. It's one day of holiness, but it's 2 days automatically. That's what they made. It wasn't because of a doubt. Any questions on that?
What's that mean though? So wait, so how is it different than
What?
the, it was established as 2 days because they they it was determined that Rosh Hashanah needed 2 days of whatever, tshuva or whatever it was.
Yeah, because of the testimony, it was slightly different, and they said it's got to be 2 days, not because of a doubt.
But because of the chashivas of Rosh Hashanah.
Not necessarily chashivas because of the mess up. The question that I have on all this is probably the same question that anyone has: is why was there more of a concern of a mess up on Rosh Hashanah than other Yamim Tovim?
Wait, it wasn't messed up or wasn't? It wasn't messed up? Yeah.
What?
It wasn't messed up?
Yeah, there was. That's what the Gemara says. But seemingly, this could happen on any Yom Tov, so I think
Yeah.
that this requires some more research.
Huh.
Let's take a look at the remaining time that we have. The introduction that the Ozva Hadar Mishna berura provides on this siman over here. They pretty much say exactly what we saw in the Beis Yosef. They have an interesting hara on Shehechinu, and you could go through this over here. Pretty much the same exact thing, just it's not in the Rashi text, a little bit clearer. Basically, a quote from the Beis Yosef. Let's just see the second page of the introduction, though. Second page over there, the handling Shehechinu. Say, someone who says that the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah have one holiness and are considered like one Yom Tov, based on this idea, some Rishonim hold that Shehechinu should not be said on the second night, on Kiddush and for Shofar, as we already learned. Why? Because it's like one day, so you already said Shehechinu on the first day, it's covered.
What'd
However,
you say?
others say that
Wait,
no, Shehechinu should be said on the second day, because what does that mean that Rosh Hashanah is only one day? That's because of Minhag Avoseinu, the custom of our ancestors, that they made the month holy based on the witnesses that came along, and there was a concern that maybe they're going to come too late, and therefore now we say, okay, both days they have one holiness. But even so, they would certainly, our ancestors certainly said the bracha of Shehechinu on the second day as well, even though it was one holiness. Because even if the witnesses came later, so then the main day was the next day. Right? First day is only from the rabbis. It's like weekday. So therefore, what we do is what we discussed with the different tactics that we do, aka with the clothing or with the fruit, and even if we don't have that, we would still say Shehechinu. Why? In order not to change from what our ancestors did. I'd like to share one more ha'ara with the few minutes that we have. Is it permissible, if we're going to say that Rosh Hashanah is like one day, is it permissible to cook on the first day of Rosh Hashanah for the second day?
Mhm.
So there's a major discussion about this. Do we say that Kedusha Achas, do we say that there's only one holiness in Rosh Hashanah? Maybe we only say that it's a one-way street. We don't say that as a leniency, only a stringency. There's different opinions about that. There's what to handle on that. Shaila, probably better not to cook on the first day for the second day. So there's some nuances you could look into if you look around more. I think we're just gonna spend one day on this very short siman. And then tomorrow, the plan is, Amir Hashem, we're going to do siman Tuf Reish Aleph, also a very short siman, which kind of overlaps onto some of what we discussed in this siman. And oh, that was the siman that I was looking for before. Okay. Yeah, siman Tuf Reish Aleph, right? That's what we do. That's actually going to be the siman about laning for the second days of Rosh Hashanah. Okay. So that's the siman that we're going to learn about. And then we have one more siman. We're going to learn the last siman, Tuf Reish Gimel. After that, which is going to talk more about Aseret Tshuva Pasakim. So Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow we will be mamshich.
Sure.
Ruchim to you. Everyone should have a wonderful day.
Have a good day. Sure.
All right.